XRP increased by 10,000%. That sounds like a lot, right? Absolutely. This is a major FedNow update, and shout out to our brother in space, Smoke. Consider smashing that like. You're definitely going to want to hear more about this and why it matters to you. As we pull this up, it's the key findings. And basically speaking, what are we referencing here? Well, basically, it's this. It's the whole idea that XRP increased by more than 10,000% in the last 10 years. People complain, of course, about XRP and not being to an incredibly high price, but they have never looked into it this deep from this perspective. It outperformed everybody, the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq over the past 5 years. Nasdaq made recent news in regard to Ripple XRP. I don't know if you guys saw Jesse and I's coverage about that recently. It was on a video about a couple weeks ago. So, interesting to see this about the whole thing of the past 5 years. But in the last 2 years, it delivered profits exceeding 300%. These facts, not opinions, facts prove that holding long term or buying at the right time leads to profit. Well, no kidding. Saying XRP has not moved or is not moving is simply ignoring reality. How many times have you heard me joke around and say things like, price don't move much? But despite what retail investors claim, XRP is moving 100%. The three documents below show that across long-term, medium-term, and short-term periods, XRP has a highly profitable investment, or has been, I should say. Documented 3 times over. What is Smoke referencing here? Well, number one, let's blow this up. And look at this. He's shown the all-time chart in regard to XRP. Some people feel as though, yep, we'll be lucky if it ever moves to $3.30 ever again. You guys talk about $10,000 XRP. Can we just get back to $3? How many times have you seen that in the particular outlines? And on top of that, let's pull this up. It's what's on the right side of the page. Because guess what? Since January 2015, as pointed out here, it says specifically the price of XRP, the native token on the XRP ledger, has grown just from 2 cents to over 2.19 in that particular day. But that in itself, in the highlight, represents a return of over 10,800%, making XRP among the best performing digital assets over the past decade. This will be the checkpoint, I should say, before we kick it over to the FedNow outline.
If managing your crypto feels like solving a puzzle, it's time to switch to Decent Wallet. So just a few taps, you can manage, track, and secure your crypto with unmatched ease. And here's the best part. Grab your Decent Wallet at a discounted price by using the referral link below. Don't miss out on making your crypto experience smoother and more secure.
And with that said, we're going to kick it over to Jesse of Apex Crypto Consulting NFA. By all means, give him a follow. Listen to what he has to say in regards to this perspective of what we found. And if anything, follow us both on X. You can follow me at DPG Maximus. And you can follow Jesse over at his particular X, which is basically the Apex Consult NFA. Apex Consult NFA. And we would appreciate it. All right. Take it away, Sir Jesse.
Yeah. So XRP had some ridiculous spikes. And not only 2015, but at the end of 2017, I think it was in December 2017, it went from like 15 cents to like $3, over $3, and in a matter of like 10 days, 14 days max. And that's when, oh my goodness, CoinMarketCap did something very interesting when that happened. So CoinMarketCap, which was taking an average of all different countries all over the world, the price, they literally overnight they just removed the Asian market, because the Asian market was the most hyper one where we're seeing a lot of volume. So they removed the Asian market completely out of their equation without telling anybody that they were doing this. And so by removing Asia overnight, literally the price on CoinMarketCap started dropping. So everybody thought like, okay, the run is over. So people started selling. But this is it's very dirty what they did there. Very interesting. and that this is what cooled down XRP. Anyways, that's what everybody's saying. That's the consensus. Is when Coin Market Cap immediately just removed Asia out of the equation without telling anybody that they were doing it. Immediately the price dropped like crazy. Everybody thought the run was over and people started selling. But went from like 15 cents to over $3, or maybe it's 10 cents American to over $3, literally within a few weeks. So it's a 20x, 2,000%. But prior to this, I think it was like 6 to 8 months before that, it was trading at half a penny. So it was like 0.006. So in a matter of like 9 months, it did a 800x. That was roughly 800x. It was like 0.005 or 0.006. So almost half a penny to over $3. Literally in a matter of 8 months. That was an 800x it did. But I understand people's frustration. I mean, to me, XRP, still being the same price it was in early 2018, when there's like literally almost no banks connected to RippleNet yet, is absolutely ridiculous. That's why I keep saying the price is definitely suppressed. So I completely understand people's frustration, because in 2018, Brad Garlinghouse admitted that they had 200 banks connected to RippleNet, and that they were connecting 5 banks per week. He said we're connecting 5 banks per week. Then he said we're consistently connecting 6 banks per week to RippleNet. So they already had 200, and they were connecting 6 banks per week consistently. Now, that's without connecting to CLS, without connecting to Swift, which has 10,000 banks, and all these different MoneyGram, and where you're literally connecting to a network that already has 500 banks, 10,000 banks, 1,000 banks, or whatever. Individually, Brad Garlinghouse admitted they were connecting 6 banks per week. So, and this is 7 years ago. So 6 banks per week times 50 weeks is 300 banks per year. Times 7 years, that's 2,100 banks minimum that Ripple would have connected since 2018. And the price literally hasn't moved since then, right? We've barely seen that all-time high again. So and Ripple still has on their website, we have over 300 banks connected to RippleNet. This is a big lie. It's one of many lies from Ripple. Okay, I'm sorry, Ripple's not your friend. Okay, XRP was not meant for us. I want their success, obviously, as an XRP investor, but Ripple it's not for us. Okay, XRP was never meant for us in general. But yeah, they still say over 300 banks, because Brad Garlinghouse went complete silent there. In 2018, they stopped talking about that, because he was consistently saying, "Oh, we're connecting 5 banks per week," and then he said 6 banks per week. Then they stopped talking about it. So, oh shit, I can't say that anymore. Sorry, pardon my language. He's like, "Oh, we can't say that anymore," and they stopped talking about it. And then now they still have on their website over 300 banks. That's BS. It's all the money. All the banks are connected to Ripple. All of them. All right. So anyway, just my little rant there. But I understand people's frustration though. But yeah, the XRP did see some major spikes. But it should be way more than that right now. How can it go to over $3 when literally almost no banks are connected? Now we have the full adoption of RippleNet, and literally price the same. Doesn't make sense. Price is manipulated, it's suppressed, but yeah, not for long, not forever, I don't think. Not financial advice, but it won't be suppressed forever, I don't think. But it's not financial advice, and we're not financial advisors.
I truly believe that we have blast off, especially after regulations and mandates. And, you know, if it doesn't happen, then I don't know what to think, but it is what it is. We just present research. You guys do what you want with that. We're going to jump over to this next part, because we did mention that we're going to talk about FedNow. Let's get into that and why it matters. So, what do we have? Well, excuse me, before we connect it to that, there's 2 missing parts here that I wanted to jump into, so I do apologize. We're just going to do this here briefly. So the first one is, remember how we're talking about that whole thing that happened with XRP? So again, just pound it home. Realized profit by margin. Again, look at this for a second. All right, so January 2023 and then to the present, roughly. Again, just trying to cite some things that you guys may not be aware of, and this chart is cited from Glassnode. Okay, there's another one I want to share with you guys. This one's the historical performance of course, XRP. We're going to pull this one up as well. And again, as you see here, roughly July 2020. Like it says here, source CoinDesk, Yahoo Finance. Note the above chart shows XRP's price history since its inception and in no way represents the past or future performance of the purpose. Notice how it says purpose of XRP ETF, which launched in June 2025. And so you see how this all comes together. And if anything, I mean, there you go. So this is why we highlight some of this. All right, now let's, of course, jump into the whole thing of FedNow. So what we have here is some interesting reports, data, and so on. Once again, shout out to Smoke. Give him a follow at Smoke Dog. Replace the O's with Q's. He says, yes, FedNow will use blockchain applications. I pointed this out numerous times. I've done a few deep dives with Rue Black. Give him a follow too over at Black Rue on YouTube and X. But this has been documented 3 times over. Just in case you never heard about any of this, this is actually a little bit different from what we cited in the past. So this is actually going to be something that's eye-opening for even some of you guys who are the deep divers of all time. It's this right here. So it says FedNow's open architecture will enable banks and other financial institutions to develop APIs to integrate with FedNow. I point out a lot about this when it comes to APIs, especially when it comes to quant. Of course, you're more than welcome to check out those deep dives. I'll try to remember. Again, if I forget, I'll still try to remember to put them at the end screen for you to watch that. But nonetheless, like it says, artificial intelligence, think about quant with that, think about Hedera with that, machine learning, and potentially blockchain applications. So, for example, you see here, FedNow will also become a useful source of bank-to-bank payments. That's what B2B stands for, especially because of its use of ISO 222 messaging standard. I mean, think about why people like Smoke highlight some of these key things, because he realizes what we realize. We want to see the documentation in regards to all of this and why it matters. And again, I just want to point out some of these key things because I think it's definitely worth getting into. Is that all we have? No, it's not. We're going to share this as well. So this part, okay, let's take a look. So it says here, number 3, the Federal Reserve should prioritize the completion of FedNow. Not like, oh, it could, it should. Point number 2, by its use of ISO 222, FedNow will enhance the information appended to payments, and in doing so will mirror the capabilities of blockchain. Well, are you guys aware about ISO TC 68? And are you aware that ISO TC 307 is basically a represented mirror of that? Look more into it. You'll be glad you did. But again, the whole concept of mirrored capabilities of blockchain. How many standards there are out there that mirrors the capabilities of blockchain, even with the legacy systems? And even though it's not highlighted, I do want to recognize this, because notice on point number 4, the lessons learned from the United Kingdom's experience with real-time gross settlements serve as a cautionary story and underscore the need for regulators to protect consumers from sender authorized fraud. Who better to get that job done than the Quant Network? Think about it. Isn't one of their products Quant authorized? You wonder why we mention so much about Quant on this channel or these channels? There's a reason for that, ladies and gentlemen. And last but not least, we're going to take you to the final part. Why is this important? Well, at the end of the day, look at it for yourself. Seeing is believing. Look at what it says. Literally, did we not just talk about Quant? Interoperability, the FedNow settlement service, yes, FedNow, is designed to work seamlessly with existing payment systems and financial institutions. Integrating blockchain-based system might have presented significant challenge in terms of interoperability. Think about that. It's like it's screaming like they need Quant. I understand it's not so much necessarily just about Quant, but that's major. I know we're talking about some of the things about Ripple XRP, but again, think about it. Internet trust, as Jesse pointed out, I pointed out too, internet of value, right? Especially like Ripple XRP. So interoperability with other systems could have complicated adoption process for banks and financial institutions. Well, we understand that Ripple XRP with the ILP, Interledger Protocol, has its own form of interoperability. I'm not going to debate that. But like it says here, this is not to say that blockchain DLT systems will not work with FedNow in the future. Banks and fintech companies could build applications or services that use blockchain for specific use cases. Think about that, specific use cases. And oh, by the way, such as cross-border payments, supply chain. I saw it right there, cross-border payments. Think of Ripple XRP, think of Stellar XLM. I mean, think of like, some integration with Hedera, right? We don't talk about that as much as we should. We have an outline coming out. But again, supply chain, thinking XDC. And of course, like it says, financing or digital identity management. Digital identity management, immediately think of Hedera, immediately think of Quant. And oh, by the way, Paolo Tasca, co-founder of Quant along with Gilbert Verdian. Paolo Tasca, key integral part of Hedera back in the day. Interesting to see the common ground, but it says while still utilizing the instant settlement capabilities of FedNow. Again, instant settlement capabilities of FedNow. How so? Because you already had the test pilots. We already had the whole thing of the regulated settlement network, as pointed out with myself and Jesse and numerous others, Channing and so on. As crypto services mature and become more widely adopted, it is possible that the FedNow or Fed may consider exploring partnerships or integrations with blockchain DLT-based services. However, this would depend on such things as like regulatory compliance and so on. But those integrations already happen, right? Think about integrations, API integrations. I'll read this part as well. Let's actually zoom out for just a brief moment so I don't lose the whole thing on the page. We do see here these collaborations could be established by developing API integrations. So I literally just said that, did I not? Literally before reading this part. So what screams out to you is a holder of these particular ISO coins and tokens. I mean, think about it. So the interaction with the FedNow service, and again, enabling hybrid approach that combines the strengths of both centralized and decentralized systems, the best of both worlds. Is both centralized and decentralized part of this shared unified ledger? I think so. And the last part, FedNow have published the charges for using the system. If you want to look into it, go to frbservices.org/resources/fees/fedcomplete-2023. We'll have to check into the whole thing. Maybe there's a 2025. But I think that might be a future deep dive. No promises, but interesting to see that. And last but not least, even though it's not highlighted, look what it says here. It says here, for example, using the system, but it's not given that it will be able to compete with entrenched services with critical mass such as Visa. Well, guess what? Again, that citation from 2023. Hello, Visa and MasterCard already announced integrations, partnerships like with your Ripples, your Stellars, and even things like with your Quant network. So that's already been done. So if that's the case, is it really competing with them? No. The answer is no. It's complementing them. And I think that's why we share some of these key things with you guys, because at the end of the day, even what you see here, Q1 2025, over 13 financial institutions in the United States had signed up for FedNow. And who originally explained this? Oh, no big deal. Just David Schwartz, Ripple XRP. And do we have some big amounts mentioned here? Yeah, total settle payments, 1,310,000. Quarterly volume growth percent, 43%. Value of settled payments, I mean, geez, what is that? 369, so 48.6 billion. Quarterly value growth percentage, 140.8%. And again, the whole idea that price don't move much. Well, price is going to move something fierce here soon, in my opinion. And this guy even cites SEPA. I mean, think about that. How many times have we done deep dives about SEPA? What about the reference to FedNow? So there is definitely an opportunity here to bridge domestic real-time payment systems, such as FedNow, such as the Clearinghouse. I mean, even Clearinghouse, we don't talk about enough. I need to do a proper update for you guys about SHX, but Clearinghouse definitely stands out, especially for Stronghold. Stronghold is so underrated. Okay, and again, percentage of SCT, in regards to SEPA credit transfers, that's not talked about enough. In this last part, average daily SCT instant transaction volume in the millions from 20 to 2025. I mean, it's not a moonshot yet, right? But what about when we have regulations and mandates? Will this curve go straight to the moon? Draw your own conclusion in regard to that. And with that also said, let's kick it over to the final closing analysis from, again, our brother in space, Jesse Take it away, sir.
Very interesting, as always. Hey guys, hope all is well. Yeah, so David Schwartz said domestic settlements, fixing the issue with domestic settlement. So I think that's like within a country, right? It's the last leg. And when you look at that document, FedNow, it was showing like 4 quarters ago, so like about a year ago, showing things like 500,000 was FedNow settlement, 500,000. Then it was like 17 million or something like that, and 20 million, and then 25, then 40 million. It went like, I think, from like 500,000 to like 40 million. That's like 100x within like five quarters, within like a year and 3 months, for example. You see it ramping up, FedNow. And then it talks about, I just took some notes here. So it talks about FedNow talks about, FedNow could connect into blockchains, and it talks about instant settlement, and like all of these words they're using is technically DLT XRP technology, right? And then it said that what else did it say here? It said the ISO 20022 will mirror FedNow integrating ISO 20022. It will mirror the capabilities of blockchain, which is what I was saying, right? You need that messaging standard to allow for the settlement, because you can't blockchain with XRP, you can settle transaction instantly, but you still need the message and the information to be transparent between the banks. Like it needs to have, like they need to see what's the information for that payment. So that's why I'm saying it mirrors the standard ISO 20022 mirrors the capabilities of blockchain. And at the beginning, the first document you showed, the FedNow talked about how these new technologies that are merging together and so on. It talked about AI, it talked about machine learning and blockchain, right? And this is what's really crazy, because right now there's 3 different technologies. They're pretty much the most transformational technologies ever to a certain degree, which is AI, machine learning, and blockchain. Okay, so you have the 3 most transformational technologies. I think they're the most transformational, but anyways, one of some of the top transformational technologies ever, all merging at the same time, all emerging at the same time, getting adoption at the same time. Not only are they all emerging and maturing at the same time, they're actually all complementary to one another as well. So on their own, like AI is very powerful on its own, and blockchain is extremely powerful on its own, and so is machine learning on its own. But not only are they powerful on their own, they're actually complementary to each other, which is crazy because they're all emerging and maturing at the same time. So it's like having 3 nuclear bombs at the same time, or like an explosion of utility and breakthrough and innovation because of their complementariness. I don't know if that's a word, but because they're all complementary to one another at the same time. Complementary means that they help each other out. AI helps machine learning can help AI, blockchain, because you move data across blockchain helps AI. So that's what I mean by complementary. It's really crazy that you have some of the most powerful technologies all emerging at the same time, and they're complementary to one another on top of that. So that's why I say in 10 years from now, we should see a huge shift in different things we'll see in society. Some for the good, some for not too good, maybe. But yeah, it's all about that instant settlement. And who was on the Faster Payment Task Force, was chosen by the Faster Payment Task Force for Federal Reserve many years ago, being as the best solution for instant payment settlement and all that stuff. It was Ripple, right? And then you see, like, because when the Fed now says, they could use blockchain, again, this is complete BS. It's not could, it's they will, and they are using it. They always, because I keep saying this in my videos, like, you have to understand that these guys always talk as if, oh, we could maybe use it, we're trying, it's just a concept, we're testing. That's how they talk when they talk about the unified ledger, shared ledger, Finternet, which is all the same thing, right? Mainly the XRP ledger, but it's always like, oh, it's theoretical, and it's conceptual, we'd have to test, it could bring these advantages. It's all BS. Like, it's been planned for years. They know it works. They've tested it. It's tried. It's not could, maybe you would. Like, is, will, we're doing it. That's what it is. It is. We're doing it. Will happen. Most of it already done. maybe a flip of the switch. So yeah, that's what I see there. It's always the same limbo. Yeah, that's my opinion, boss.
Love those opinions. And
Okay,
if
thanks.
anything, earlier, what did we cite, Jesse? We cited some facts from Smoke Dog in that documentation. So simply do us a solid if you listen to the entire outline and type in this keyword into the comments, and that is facts. And we'll
Facts.
know that you listened to the entire outline. On behalf of myself and Jesse of Apex Crypto Consulting NFA, know what you have, know why you hold it. The research trumps flood 110%, because they're not just opinions, as shown in the documents, they're facts. We'll see you on the next one.
See you guys. God bless.
God bless you too.